Hello everyone, I'm Steve Knight
And I'm Lynn Knight.
and welcome to this week's episode of Life Centre Online. Can I just encourage people to connect with each other? People are alone, they feel so alone at times, and just a phone call or a message or just a bit of a chat or a catch up or a coffee means so much to some of our members. So enjoy the episode.
Enjoy, everybody.
Yeah.
There you go. of your goodness, your loving kindness to me. Now I can see your love is better than all the others that I see. I'm breathing deep of all your goodness, your loving kindness to me. I'm breathing, breathing, I'm breathing, breathing, I'm breathing, breathing, I'm breathing, 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 Thought I knew what love was. Thought I knew what love was. Thought I knew what love was, but so much better, better. I thought I knew what love was. I thought I knew what love was. I thought I knew what love was, but it's better, it's better. I thought I knew what love was. I thought I knew what love was. I thought I knew what love was. It's better, it's better. I thought I knew what love was. Yeah. I knew what love was. I thought I knew what love was. It's better, it's better. It's better, it's better. It's better, it's better. Oh, it's better, it's better. It's better, it's better. Now I can see your love is better than all the others that I see. I'm breathing deep of all your goodness, your loving kindness to me. Now I can see your love is better than all the others that I see. I'm breathing deep of all your goodness, your loving kindness to me. And I will lean back in the loving arms of a beautiful Father. Oh. Dig deep and know that He's good. He's a love like no other.
Hello everybody, it's nice to connect with you today. Just want to share with you just a little testimony I have. Yesterday I went for a walk in the bush. Felt like God was telling me go now, even though it was early and a bit cold. I was feeling a bit weighted and heavy just from some of the things that I do for work. It can be can end up carrying a bit of a weight. So I went for this walk and just felt God was giving me some strategy of how to hand those things over to him. And then I just started to pray and praise and sing and a wonderful encounter time in the bush. Now, Sam, my son, has had some cold symptoms and had a COVID test, as we are supposed to do at the moment, a few days ago. We were waiting for the result and it just seemed to be taking longer than we thought it should. And I started praying about that as I was walking. Just started praying, Lord, whatever's stopping this result come through, I just pray against that. And then I felt this real check to stop, not to pray that way. And I was like, oh, okay, God, how do I pray about this? The next moment, there was this beep on my phone, which was in my pocket, and I pulled it out, and sure enough, the negative result had come through. And I just laughed and laughed as I such a great encounter with God. I just felt him saying, I'm over this, I'm present, I'm real, and I answer prayers. And I think the thing that it's highlighted for me is the importance of us connecting with him and hearing his voice in this time. There is so much coming against us, there's so much fear, there's so much anxiety, there's, the need to be cautious and careful, just as Helen shared in her word this last weekend, the importance of being cautious. But there's this demonic fear, I think, that has attached to everything that's going on, and it's so easy to buy into it, and it's so easy to feel disconnected from God and disconnected from his good. But I just felt, as I had that walk yesterday and felt so connected to his heart, that it's so important that we connect and that we connect with his truth. Now, the verse that's just been standing out to me a lot lately is John 14 verse 6, which is one that I'm sure everyone knows. It says, I am the way, the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father but through me. We have to be releasing his truth. Jesus is the truth. And as we read the word, as we get into the word, as we find out who he really is, I've recently been reading John and still working my way through it. And there's such amazing things he declares about who he is. Things like, I am the light of the world, I am the gate, I am the good shepherd. The verses that said, the gatekeeper opens the gate for him and the sheep recognize his voice and come to him. We have to be able to recognize his voice, and we can't do that unless we're actually spending time with him and connecting with him and strengthening our foundations, building ourselves up. Another verse that stood out to me recently was Hebrews chapter 12, verse 12 and 13. And those verses say, so take a new grip with your tired hands and strengthen your weak knees. Mark out a straight path for your feet so that those who are weak and lame will not fall but become strong. Mark out a straight path for your feet. Just encourage you, every one of you, and myself too, to keep marking out a straight path for our feet. The stuff that's getting in the way, if it's watching the news too much and checking the numbers too much in Melbourne and results of tests and things, we can become so consumed by all of that. But it's like sometimes we actually just have to stop and quiet those voices, spend some time marking out that straight path so that we can walk clear and firm and straight, so that we can have a solid foundation and continue to declare truth. We can, like as a mum and with my children and some of the things they've been going through recently, as I've just been discovering the power of the word, as we use the word as a sword, as we declare what it says, as we declare that we are bold, declare that we are strong, declare that we do not need to be anxious, that we can praise, that we can have peace that passes all understanding. This is the truth, and we just have to get into our hearts at the moment. So, I feel like this lines up with the word that Helen has shared in the last couple of weeks, and I just feel like this is so important for me, and for my family, and for all of you as my extended family, that we just continue to push in, to remember that even with all the stuff going on around, God is still good and that he has good things for us. So bless you all. Look forward to seeing you again. Bye.
Hello, this is Paul Lee, coming to you from Melbourne in lockdown. it's interesting to see this situation now that we're in, where it's the second wave has now started for us here in Melbourne. This week it was said that many people refused tests for the coronavirus because they feared a conspiracy theory. That was the reason they gave for not wanting to do the test. It's just interesting how even those who are not in the Christ also think about world events that may link to people trying to control their destinies. One interesting thing about destinies is this, is if you do not control your own destiny, then by default, someone else is. And the obvious thing to do from that logically is to try to control your destiny. But in doing so, you would end up actually having to control other people's destinies. And henceforth it goes. And it's just a matter of time before, if someone follows that logic of trying to control your own destiny, that you would end up really having to control everybody else's, and by extension to control the destiny of the world. So in some ways, from a personal fear or a personal desire to have control over our circumstances, we end up in a situation whereby we are logically forced to have to try to make everybody else conform, just for the fact that we want to control our lives and our destinies. And this is a very interesting situation. Conspiracy theory is one of those things that people talk about. Is it true, or does it happen? I suppose we can generally agree that everybody does plan. Everybody have a aspiration or a need or a desire, and in doing so, everybody would conspire in some way or another. It's interesting to see what the dictionary definition of conspiracy is. Now, in the Oxford Dictionary, let's grab this here. In the Oxford Dictionary, conspire is defined as one of the meanings as to combine secretly, to plan and prepare an unlawful or harmful act. Obviously, it's got a sinister thought in that it's something that people do to try to hurt or to harm other people. But as I started off saying, that many times, even in our own attempt to control our own lives, we end up having the need to control everybody else's, so that we have control over what we want. In doing so, that's quite understandable how the world could come to a situation, if it's a capitalist world, or it's a communist world, or it's some other ideologies. In order to have some control over our national destiny, our sovereignty, our own personal lives, the lives of the political entities, parties, or whatever, and all the armies and all the peoples, naturally, to control your life, you have to control everybody else's. And that's just one of those facts of life that happens. And so here in Genesis 11, there is an interesting story that is not normally spoken much about, but I'd just like to draw a few thoughts from it. In Genesis 11, in the New King James Version, it reads this: "Now the whole earth had one language and one speech. And it came to pass, as they journeyed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And then they said to one another, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. They had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city, and a tower whose top is in the heavens. Let us make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth." And so it's interesting here, just this thought here of some people having found a place where they can dwell. And they began to build. And they found that they had the technology to build something with bricks, to make bricks and to bake them. And then they said, well, from this, let's do something more. Let's build ourselves a city, and also a tower, which the top of it will reach into the heavens. And lest we be scattered abroad over the face of the whole earth. Three thoughts here is this: what makes people want to conspire or to plan and to do something? Now, as I said, many times we don't start off wanting to control everybody else's destiny, just ours, just to make a life for ourselves, to make something worthwhile. And here, so that they found that they could do something marvelous. They could build bricks, they could build a city. And so they began to build this city They wanted to make a tower so high they will reach into the heavenly places. It speaks of people who actually want to make a name for themselves, to be able to reach an achievement. To build this city, to build this tower is a massive achievement, something that's so high. I mean, how many of us would have tried to pile stones together, and how high before you can pile those stones or bricks before they fall over? You know, it's not easy to build a big city, especially the aspiration of building a tower that's so high. It just goes up and up and up and reaches the heavens. So here are people who want to make a mark of themselves, an achievement. The desire to achieve, the desire to make a certain monument or a certain product or certain services. It's a good desire, but in itself, it leads you to other things. And the second thing they want to do was to exalt themselves. This is going to be so high a tower, it's going to reach the heavens. And that they want to make a name for themselves. And here it's interesting that they want to make a name for themselves. You know, we all live lives among billions of people. And all of us will want to try to do something significant, to leave a mark in some way, that someone will remember us when we are gone. And here we have people who want to just make a name for themselves. And in this driving, leads to the third thing, which is a fear, really. They said, lest we be scattered over the whole earth, the face of the whole earth. Self-preservation. And many times we drive ourselves, we conspire, we plan because of a certain innate fear within us. A fear of something that we may not express to everybody else. People may see that we're strong, that we are determined, we're optimistic, but yet underneath all that is an innate fear, a certain drive that compels them. Beyond just even the first point about making an achievement, reaching pinnacles in the height of our technology or in our goals and our skills and our talents, but also to make a name for themselves, to be self-exalt, to leave a mark, but also to satisfy this innate fear that is in us. In this case, was they will be scattered. The tragic story is that it did happen. The very thing that they feared happened in this story. But I just want to return to the thought, that why do people conspire? Why do things happen? Why do people collude? In Psalms chapter 2, verse 1, it says that the nations rage, or in the new NIV version, it talks about conspire was actually the word translated. That they plan and come together as kings against Yahweh, against the Lord and His anointed. This is Psalms chapter 2, verse 1 onwards. People do this naturally because to protect themselves, because of the fears, to make a mark for themselves, to make a name for themselves, for achievements. And some of these things are not bad things. But naturally, as I said, when you try to control your own destiny, it only leads you really to one place. You have to control everything else and control everybody else. That's the only way you can be a master of destiny on this earth. And so as believers, what do? Do we do the same thing? Do we follow this natural thing that people do to try to make a name for ourselves, to make a mark for ourselves, the achievements, the exaltations, self-exaltations, to cover those fears that drive all of us? Or is there another way? Obviously, we can never be fully in control of the world and everybody else. It's not possible. There's only one spot at the top of the mountain. If you achieve that spot by nature, you are really dominating everybody else. And what did Jesus do? Well, curiously enough, Jesus didn't do any of this. He did not come to make a name for himself. He did not come to do an achievement that we would probably strive for. And he did not come because of some fear or something that he had to overcome within himself. In fact, the temptation of Christ is an interesting one. The devil actually tempted him for self-achievements, to make a name, and to preserve himself. And yet Jesus didn't do any of that. I think somebody of this nature, as Jesus Christ is a worthy person for us to hand over our personal destiny and control over. Because if we don't control it, somebody else still has to. And if God can be the master controller over all destiny and our destiny, that will be a fantastic thing to be. At very least, it relieves us from the drive and the burden, the pain of having to try to fix everything and to control our lives and everybody else's lives. So if it's one message I would say this time, whether it's true conspiracy out there that people are trying to do bad things, maybe there is. I mean, there's a lot of interesting stories and thoughts out there. I won't leave you with any conclusion except that do have a look, investigate it and see. But as I said, the fact is, people do collude, people do conspire, people do plan for good or for evil. But the point here is not really to unmask all that or to fix all that up, but it's to come to the person who conspires, if I can use that word, for our good. That Jesus did not come to do anything else but to save us, to give us a better destiny. He's come, the Son of God was given, that we have the right to become children of God to as many as would want to. This is John chapter 1 and John chapter 3 of how Jesus came, that he gave his life for us. And this is just how God is. God conspires for us to be raised up to be children of God. And such a great person, such a great thing that God is. And I think we should be willing and most happy to give ourselves to under the control and lordship of somebody who has got our personal interest and our personal goodness at heart. Not any other person. I mean, the best person, the most moral person out there will still be subject to the power of sin and their own fears and their own drives and desires. And in doing so, there will not be a perfect Lord over us. It's only one perfect Lord. And so in this time, I just want to encourage you that we should just continue to place ourselves under the Lordship of Christ, because He is master of all things and He has all things under His control. He is the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. Amen.
G'day guys, hope you're having a good week. I just want to thank Paul and Jillian for that encouraging word. And I just got the scripture on my heart. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll make straight your paths. So Father, I just pray right now for your people, that you would help them trust you with all their heart, not lean on their own understanding, but in every way acknowledge you, and you make their path straight. God bless you guys. See ya.
Welcome to our study of the Gospel of John.
I have fallen in love with the work of Paul as I've studied the book of 1 Corinthians, and I believe you will too.
This is where Jesus taught in Capernaum, and you have to understand this scene.
The Lord is my shepherd. And over the next 6 weeks, we're going to look deeply into the 23rd Psalm.
Right Now Media. It's for groups. It's for personal devotion. It's for parents.
The bullseye of parenting is to raise children who become like Jesus.
It's for kids.
This is Phil. We're digging into the Bible, which, as we've mentioned, is more than just a book.
It's for tough times.
So when you recognize that you're trying to have a conversation with your spouse and they're not ready to talk, it's not helpful to keep pressing them.
It's for every phase of life.
If you've made mistakes with money, you know what that makes you? Over 12.
And now, it's yours. We've purchased a Right Now Media subscription for everyone in our church. So check your inbox for the digital invitation and download the app for instant access to thousands of biblically based videos. Get equipped. Get inspired.
Okay. Wow, what a great episode that was. Now, I just feel that there is a verse I would like to share with everyone. It is one that we all know, it's very familiar to all of us. It is John 3:16, and I'm just going to ask Steve if you'd like to read that for us, please.
Okay, so John 3:16. For God so loved the world that He gave His only begotten Son, that whoever believes in Him should not perish but have everlasting life. You know, that's a pretty good cup of coffee with someone. That's a good outreach with someone who doesn't even know who Jesus is, someone who doesn't know that verse. I'd like you just to keep that in mind when you're meeting with people who aren't in the church, who aren't saved, to just release John 3:16 over them without them even knowing it. That Jesus is the only way, and that you would show them the way through that John 3:16 verse. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye. See you soon, hopefully.
Yeah.